You think you know India's volunteer scene. You've heard of the billion-dollar NGOs, the government schemes, the corporate CSR. But there's a network that operates beneath all that, quiet, decentralized, and almost invisible to the press. Schools, playgrounds, water systems. They don't ask for credit, they don't make headlines, and they've been doing it for 90 years. What if the most effective service network in India isn't run by the government, NGOs, or tech billionaires, but by a brotherhood you've never heard of? This isn't about charity. It's about the hidden operating system that turns ordinary men into a movement one local table at a time. How does a 90-year-old men's club quietly run India's most scalable local service network without ever making headlines? The answer isn't in their projects, it's in their structure. A structure that looks more like open-source code than a traditional hierarchy, and it starts with a single question. What happens when you give 20 men a table, a constitution, and no boss? He's a tech CEO. His calendar is a fortress of board meetings, investor calls, product launches. Yet every second Friday, he drives 40 minutes to a nondescript community hall, sits around a plastic table with 20 other men, and plans a school renovation. No equity, no salary, no stock options. Why? Roundtable India doesn't offer what the corporate world calls value. There's no promotion track, no bonus, no title that impresses a VC. Instead, there's a rulebook that feels like a contradiction. You must be under 40 to join, and you must leave at 40. The club is designed to be temporary, therefore every minute counts. The unspoken code is brutal. Show up, deliver, or get out. No one claps for attendance. But if you miss a project deadline, the table holds you accountable, not with a warning, but with silence. I joined for the networking, the CEO says, pausing. I stayed because the system works. On the 5th of May 2020, skirmishes erupted along a remote border. While news channels screamed, round-table tables across India quietly mobilized. No press releases, no photo ops. They raised funds, packed supplies, and delivered them without a single headline. But the real magic isn't the men, it's the invisible operating system they built. The alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m. on a Sunday. For a man who spends his weekdays closing million-dollar deals, this is the hardest meeting of the month. He pulls on worn jeans and a polo shirt, no suit, no title, just a volunteer. By 6:45, a dozen men gather at a municipal school in a Delhi slum. They are CEOs, lawyers, engineers. But here, hierarchy dissolves. The ritual is precise. 3 hours every week, no exceptions. First, a walkthrough. They inspect the broken toilet, the cracked blackboard, the leaking roof. Then, a rapid huddle. Who can source paint by Tuesday? Who knows a plumber willing to work at cost? By 7:30, they are mixing cement, scrubbing floors, painting walls alongside the children who will use them. This is not charity from a distance. It is sweat equity, face to face. The impact is hyper-local. A single classroom transformed, a hand pump repaired, a library stocked. But the real engine is trust. The community sees these men return, week after week, year after year. That consistency builds something no check can buy. Yet the most radical feature isn't what they do, it's how they measure it. Understand what Roundtable India actually is and how its local service tables work. I'll sew it, and de plukten gepid. Naksepton to machudem trugin download. Indig dinenben batesbus. End projects. You have to look past the surface. The same pattern shows up again and again, and its effects compound the longer it runs. But the system's biggest strength is also its biggest risk. Has its origins in ancient times, a rigid social hierarchy that shaped everything from marriage to occupation. But it was transformed during the establishment of the British Raj, hardened into a tool of colonial control. Today, Silicon Valley tries to solve this with diversity quotas and unconscious bias training. Roundtable India does something simpler. Picture this: a young man from a family that has known privilege for generations. Another whose grandfather was denied entry to temples. They sit at the same table, literally. The club's membership is open to any man between 18 and 40, regardless of background. But the real hack isn't the rule, it's the project. When you're building a school in a rural village, you don't have time to ask about someone's surname. You're mixing cement together. You're sweating under the same sun. The shared goal creates a temporary meritocracy where your ability to lift a beam or manage a budget matters more than your lineage. Therefore, the ancient fault line doesn't disappear. It just becomes irrelevant in the face of a deadline. The most surprising lesson isn't about India. It's about human networks everywhere. The most surprising lesson isn't about India. It's about human networks everywhere. The CEO said there's no equity in this brotherhood, but that's exactly why it scales. Yet here's the contradiction. The same obscurity that lets trust flourish also starves the model of oxygen. No headlines means no pressure to professionalize. No pressure means no accountability beyond a handshake. And when a table's president moves cities, the project can vanish overnight. On the 5th of May 2020, as skirmishes flared along a distant border, India's volunteer surge didn't come from a government call. It came from men who already knew each other's phone numbers. That trust was built in rooms without cameras. But trust without transparency is a gamble. The Brotherhood works because nobody watches, yet that's also why it could fracture. Picture this. Your city has a dozen young professionals who want to build a library. They have the will, the wallets, the weekends, but they don't have a playbook. Round Table, India's model, is a blueprint written in invisible ink. You can copy the structure, but you cannot copy the decades of shared silence that made it hold. The choice is ours. Scale the system or let it fade into history. On the 5th of May 2020, skirmishes erupted along a distant border. In the months that followed, India saw a surge in volunteerism, a quiet mobilization of young men and women who wanted to serve. Round Table India was part of that surge. But you wouldn't know it from the headlines. That's the enigma. How does a 90-year-old men's club quietly run India's most scalable local service network without ever making headlines? The answer is not in its structure, tables, chairs, charters, but in its culture. They don't build monuments. They build trust. 1,000 small projects, each one invisible to the national press, yet together they form a web that reaches every district. The true scale of their impact remains unknowable because they don't measure it for applause. They measure it in meals served, classrooms painted, lives touched. What we chase, certainty, metrics, viral fame, is a mirage. The most durable systems are the ones that don't need to be seen. The lesson is uncomfortable. Maybe the best way to change a country is to stop trying to be noticed. Stay curious, stay human.